Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bearcat Update. Today, I'll be updating you on how the seasons are looking for our fall sports. From volleyball's senior day to the tip-off of the basketball season, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. On Friday, the Northwest Missouri State women's soccer team dropped a tough 2-0 match to number 19 Washburn at Bearcat pitch. With the loss, the Bearcats fall to 10-5 overall and 7-3 in MIAA play. Northwest held strong through the first half, keeping the Ichabod scoreless behind a strong defensive effort from goalkeeper Lily Ellis, who recorded 4 saves to keep the game tight early. Washburn finally broke through in the 66th minute on a goal from Jules Wardlaw, and added another in the 77th from McKinley Roan to put the match out of reach. On the attack, Lily Shaw and Julia Kocher each generated scoring chances, but the Bearcats weren't quite able to find the back of that net. Paired with their 1-0 loss a week ago to Pittsburgh State, the Bearcats will look to regroup ahead of the MIAA Tournament. They're taking action as we speak, taking on Emporia State. The volleyball team was back in action this weekend, playing their final 2 home matches of the season. On Friday, the Bearcats welcomed Emporia State to town as they look to avenge a loss to the Hornets from earlier in the season. Though the Bearcats fell in 4 sets, they held strong throughout the match, keeping 3 sets within 5 points. The competition didn't get any easier the next day as they played host to number 2 in the nation, Washburn. Despite a back-and-forth first set, the Bearcats were unable to regain momentum and ultimately fell in a 3-set sweep. Saturday also marked Senior Day as Northwest honored 5 impactful players for their contributions to the program. The Bearcats fell to 8-13 overall and 2-10 in MIAA play, and will travel to Missouri Southern next Friday. For more on volleyball, our crew member Gabe Porter sits down with sophomore defensive specialist Ellery Luhring.
My name is Ellery Luhring, and I'm a sophomore DS libero. I'm from Grundy Center, Iowa, which is a pretty small town, kind of by Cedar Falls, Waterloo. And I would say my sisters inspired me to play volleyball. I have 2 older sisters, and I was always traveling, watching them play club, watching them play high school, and so I wanted to play volleyball as well.
Ellery's influences include her sister Kaya Luhring, who she was able to play with for a brief time during her freshman year.
Kaya I played with last year for the first time because of that COVID year, so luckily I got to play with her. And high school I was actually a setter instead of a DS libero, and so that was kind of different. But club, I would play libero. In high school, I was small school, so I would set because they need someone to set. And luckily, setting is also a defensive position, so it worked both ways, and it just worked out.
Luhring's experience throughout high school, as well as her competitive spirit, brought her to one of the toughest conferences in Division II athletics.
Yeah, so like I said, I love being competitive, and the MIAA is one of the most competitive conferences in the country. Like, you could go play any team and they could beat you, but you could also go beat any team. And so I think that was something that I was looking for, was that competitiveness. And also, Kaya played a role, my sister, because I wanted to go play with her, I wanted to learn from her, and so that was my college decision. And coming off of a high in high school, I wanted to go play for a team that would continue to do well and have success.
Despite this season not quite turning out the way they wanted, Ellery discusses the impact and leadership she wants to bring to the team with her time remaining at Northwest.
This year has been a little tough, but I think we're on the right stretch. I think we are starting to flow more and connect more, and we're just wanting to play for these seniors. Like, we want to go to the MIAA tournament for them. We want to do well for them, as well as also looking to the next years. We have a pretty young team, so if we can continue to do better and continue to learn, I think we'll be very successful in these years to come, and we'll keep gaining some leadership, because I know there's a lot of girls who haven't gotten a ton of playing time, don't have that experience, and so gaining this experience this year will really help us out in the years to come.
Thanks, Gabe. The number 14 ranked Bearcat football team dominated in a 41-14 road victory over Emporia State on Saturday. Quarterback Chris Runke returned to the starting lineup, throwing 204 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and another score on the ground. Running back Dominic Myers stole the show with 208 all-purpose yards and 3 total touchdowns as the Bearcats controlled the game from start to finish. Defensively, senior captain Carter Edwards made his presence known with 5 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a key interception that set up a short touchdown drive. With the win, the Bearcats improved to 8-1 on the season and 7-0 in MIAA play. They will return home next Saturday to host Missouri Western at 1:30 p.m. in Maryville. For more on football's upcoming matchup, our reporter Jackson Phelps gives us the Bearcat Breakdown.
Welcome back to Bearcat Breakdown. Still no? Not even on Halloween? Well, I'm your host, Jackson Phelps, and this week we'll be taking a look into football's next matchup against Mo West. The Bearcats are set to face the Griffins at home on November 8th on Senior Day. The Bearcats won last year's matchup in St. Joe 33-23, and the Bearcats lead the series all-time 25-4. The Griffins currently sit 9 out of 10 in offense in the MIAA and have been led by junior Kane Donovan, and so far he has over 1,600 yards and 10 touchdown passes. Another Griffin weapon on offense is 5th-year running back Brandon Hall, who has rushed for over 500 yards along with a rushing touchdown. The Bearcat offense has been terrorizing opposing defenses all season and currently sits at 1st in the MIAA in scoring offense, and have been led by sophomore running back Jon Porter, who currently has over 300 yards rushing and 6 rushing touchdowns. Another offensive threat for the Cats is the team leader in receiving in Luke Matthews. He has been a real thriller, leading the team in receptions along with 300-plus yards and 5 touchdowns. The Griffins' defense is ranked 4th in yards in the MIAA, and they have been led by sophomore linebacker Drew Scott, where he leads the team in tackles with 50-plus, along with 3 tackles for loss with 1 forced fumble. Mo West is also led on defense by senior linebacker Brecken Manus, where he has 43 tackles along with 7.5 tackles for loss and 1 interception. The Pack-A-Cats defense has been one of the scariest in the MIAA throughout the season, and they currently sit 1st in scoring and yards. They have been led by sophomore defensive lineman Jordan Pegram, who has haunted the backfield all season with 6.5 sacks and 17 tackles. Another key threat the Bearcats possess is senior defensive lineman Clayton Power, where he currently has 3 sacks along with 22 tackles, and all his tricks earned him a treat in Week 4, taking home MIAA Defensive Player of the Week. Another edition of this great rivalry is set at home this year. The Bearcats are currently undefeated at home this season and in the MIAA. With playoffs creeping just around the corner, the Bearcats control their own destiny, and I don't see them losing this week as they continue their dominance. I'm Jackson Phelps, and this has been your Bearcat Breakdown.
Thanks, Jackson. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, our friends over on the Weekend Sports Report will talk about the season opener for the men's basketball team. We'll be right back.
Welcome to KZLX-LP Maryville, an independent student-run station on the campus of Northwest Missouri State University. We play non-stop top 40 hits and offer a variety of different specialty shows. So tune in to KZLX 106.7.
What's up, you guys, and welcome to a brand new season of Nerd Central. What's up, Corby?
What, you didn't get the memo?
No.
New season, which means new uploads, new crew, new host.
What? No, I didn't get that.
Get on out of here. Now that he's gone, let's bring in the crew.
Whoa!
Hey, settle down, everyone. We're gonna make sure this is a great season for the folks at home, because you're watching
Nerd Central.
Welcome to the Weekend Sports Report. I'm your host, Olivia Wallace, joined by me, Jackson Phelps. Let's get right into it. Cue the intro. Jackson, the Bearcats just played their first game against Minnesota State. You were there. Just talk me through that game and what you saw.
Yeah, the Bearcats opened up their season today at the CCA Tournament down at the St. Joe Civic Arena in downtown St. Joe. Played Minnesota State, the Mavericks. This is the 6th matchup that we've had of them all time. Last time we placed them was in the 2024 Central Region Tournament. Tonight it didn't go the Bearcats' way. They lost that one 71-49. It was just a little bit of tough looks, especially from shooting. I think, if the Bearcats would have looked a little bit different from shooting, it could have been different. But whenever you're shooting under that 40% from the field and definitely under 30% from three, you're definitely not going to be able to keep up in games. They had an 8-0 lead to start the game, which I thought, hey, you know what? This could be a good thing, get some momentum shifted. But Minnesota State really picked up on some key things we were doing, and they took it away. They got on some really good runs. They had some guys out there who were down low, who were controlling the game with those rebounds. Bearcats got out rebounded by a bunch, both on the offensive side. That's the biggest one because Minnesota State were able to get those second chance points. And the Bearcats really, when you're not shooting well and you're not rebounding well, it's going to be really hard to get runs started. And that's why the Bearcats fell, just because they weren't able to get back up on their feet like how they started.
The Bearcats are a very young team, if you will. A lot of freshmen, a lot of transfers. Only 4 stayed from last season. Just talk about that.
Yeah, only 4 stayed from last year, and that's going to be tough with the whole basketball team, especially here in the college world with the NIL and the transfer portal. It's tough to keep guys solid and centered, but the guys that they brought in, 7 were made up. One of them, Presley Ebe, who was one of my BCU's Player of the Week this week. He had 14 points. New guy on the team. He made it, and he made this game his. He was 2 for 2 from 3, and he did a good job controlling the paint, getting those open shots, creating open shots, and it was just a great job. Royce Williams, another one, and my second BCU Player of the Week. Both BCU Player of the Week, both transfers that just kind of were cemented into this program a couple months ago, and now they're already making an impact. Royce Williams had 11 points. Didn't do as hot from 3, but he did make some big layups and big mid-range shots as well. So both those guys are going to be really key players to watch throughout the season. But the rest of the guys are transfers. They're going to take a little bit. Again, it's a new team. It's going to take a little bit for them to gel. But once that happens, it's going to be a good season for the Bearcats. As we're going to shift to my favorite segment, BCU's Plays of the Week. Let's kick things off with play number 1. We're going to take a look here. It's Jack Radigan. He's going to fake the pass to Presley Ebe, the guy who I talked about, BCU Player of the Week. And he's going to get it to my second BCU Player of the Week, Mr. Royce Williams, for 3. This is one of my favorite plays from Friday's game just because of how they were able to create the space. And as we're going to take a little bit more of a deeper dive into this one, I want to take a pause right here. Right here, as we see, Royce Williams is going to be loading up his pivot foot right here. He's going to take the jab on that pivot because he wants to draw Mr. Harmon off right here, where he wants those legs to be going back. Because in this moment, he wants to take the 3. He just needs to make sure the guy in front of him takes a step back. With a guy like Radigan in the mismatch here, with Jones, and now him right there, it's going to be tough because his job is to stick with Radigan. What Harmon thinks is Radigan's going to come back. So as we let this play out one more time, you're going to see that Harmon actually takes a step back, and that is what enables Royce Williams to get that enough space for 3. So a really great play from him. So we're going to take a look at the second play here. Once again, it's Walters, and Radigan once again finding his way into BCU Plays of the Week. He did, again, the leadership that he possesses to be able to find space, to make those plays is really key. But what I want to talk about is the assist game from the Bearcats. I mean, the shooting really wasn't there all Friday night, but them being able to open up the pass game and finding those open guys really propelled them to get most of their runs started and get the points. Walters here finds Radigan down low, total mismatch. And as we take a look at the second time here, I'm going to take a pause right here. As we take a look, Walters does get this pass off. The space on the court, Olivia, is what I want to open up for you to talk about. Just talk to me about what you see right here with that amount of space.
I mean, obviously, we see it. I'm sure they see it. This open spot just right here.
Yep.
He sees he's wide open. He's not chasing him down. Obviously, he's close to the hoop. He takes it, and he gets it in the hoop for the right-hand job, like you said.
He does. It was a great job because this guy, Harmon, was supposed to come down earlier for the help defense, but he does not, as we see, as Radigan gets the open play. We're going to take a look at play number 3 here. It's going to be Aiden Gare, another transfer, this time to Trey Mawala, who I mentioned, another leader, a guy who returned from last year this year. Again, doing a great job making some great plays for the Cats this season. Aiden Gare, another assist at the top of the key. I feel like the Bearcats did a great job at the top of the key looking downward because they realized that the Mavericks, they were not doing a great job help side, especially on the baseline. The guys were not crashing in, so they allowed that to go forward down. As Gare finds Mawala down low on the next playthrough, I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into this one. So I'm going to pause it right here. So right here, Gare, they came into this game knowing that he was a shooter. He was a transfer from Millersville. He had the most threes on that team last year. Obviously, this guy is going to want to shoot the ball. That's what Mr. Zero, Mr. Guy, is going to think. He says, oh, he's going to post up for 3 here. He's going to get the pick from Mawala. He's going to post up for 3. That's not going to happen. Gare actually keeps his feet on the ground. And guess what? His or not, he's supposed to be cutting back because he knows Mawala's on the pick and roll, so he's going to cut down. Number 20, his job was to stay in front of this front area because he also knows Mawala's only job right now is to cut to the basket. and he does a great job. MIAA realizes how much space is in front of him downhill. He's going to crash to the board, but I want to talk about the pass from Gare. Fits it in this tight window between his left hand, and MIAA does a great job catching it and putting it up. A great progression from the seniors. We let it play out. He finds the pocket, and for the score. Another great play from the Bearcats, and 3 of my favorite plays from Friday's game. Well, that'll do it for BC's Plays of the Week. We're going to send it to Jon Rinehart as he breaks down next week in Bearcat Sports.
Holiday season has officially kicked off, and after a bunch of scares from the Bearcat Sports last week, it's time to turn the page and feast before the playoffs start, and Northwest Athletics give us a reason to celebrate next week in Bearcat Sports. To kick off the week, soccer heads out to Bearcat Pitch to kick off Hate Week against Missouri Western to start the final stretch of the regular season. The Bearcats are on a small slide, dropping 2 of their last 3 games, including most recently on Halloween to the number 19 team in the nation, Washburn. For whichever team comes out on top in this year's matchup, the goalies will have to come up big. Both Lily Ellis and Morgan Bird are 2 of the top goaltenders in the MIAA, and the first one to slip up on Wednesday will likely be the reason the other team will come out on top. Volleyball will then be in action on Friday, traveling down to Joplin to take on the Missouri Southern Lions. Overall, it has been a disappointing season on the court for the volleyball team, but the playoffs are still barely within reach, but for that to stay the case, they'll have to continue their historic success against the Lions. Northwest is 28-4 all-time against the Lions, and including a 3-1 victory 365 days prior to next week's matchup. It'll be a tough test for the Bearcats, though, because although the teams have similar resumes this season, the Lions have more kills, aces, assists, and blocks. Cross country will then kick off Saturday action in Joplin at the Central Regional Championships. Men's cross country has claimed their 2nd straight MIAA championship and are looking to finish better than their 2nd place finish in last year's Central Regionals. Drew Atkins and Aziz Mohammed finished 1-2 with John Langill about 45 seconds behind in 14th, and the women's team had their own success last meet, coming in 4th to move on to the regional meet, and are trying to improve upon their 8th place finish from last year. Bearcat Update's game of next week is making an appearance at Bearcat Stadium with the Griffins visiting town for Senior Day. Bearcat football is now 8-1 on the season after dismantling a struggling Emporia State team, but the Mo West prediction is still up in the air because of how unpredictable the Griffins team is. The Griffins are 3-6 this season, but with wildly different results, which include losing by almost 40 to the same Hornets team the Bearcats just beat up on, but also taking Augustana, the number 23 team in the country, to the wire before losing 30-26. One thing that is predictable, though, is the rushing attack for both teams. Quincy Torrey has a strong showing in nearly every game this season when he does get the ball in his hands from the dual quarterback system, and Brandon Hall is putting his 5 years of experience on show, being one of the few bright spots on this Griffins team. Finishing out the week, volleyball will continue to keep their playoff hopes alive against a very strong Jenny squad. Northwest is 8-28 against UCM and are looking to take back-to-back matches for the first time since 2021. Central Missouri will be a tough test, being the epitome of jack of all trades, master of none. They aren't leading the conference in any offensive statistics, but are top 5 in almost every category. That's coming in an area where both teams have had strong showings this year on the outside of the court, where Emma Ciron is dominating on the season, and Abby Boltice is helping give the Bearcats a glimmer of hope for next season. That's all that's happening next week at Banana Cat Sports. I'm Jon Rinehart.
Thanks, John. We're going to take our final break of the show. If you like what you see, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be first to know when we post new content. When we come back, our reporter Cayden Simpson sits down with the star of yesterday's football game in another Bearcat Update exclusive interview. We'll be right back. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. So you want to know how we run KNWT? Let me show you.
We strive to improve content week to week.
From weekly entertainment to award-winning documentaries.
We have a little something for everyone.
How do we show this creativity?
Creative Services.
Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Let's take a look at where our Bearcats stand in the national rankings. Our fall sports continue to shine, with multiple teams earning regional and national recognition. Men's cross country is holding a strong spot at 7th in the nation, while the women's team comes in at 28th, both preparing for the postseason competition. Meanwhile, women's soccer is making noise in the Central region, ranking 7th, and Bearcat football sits at number 14 nationally, riding an 8-game win streak and remaining unbeaten in MIAA play. The magic number for football is now 2, meaning that with 2 wins or 1 win and a Pitt State loss, they will clinch their first MIAA championship since 2021. Across the board, the Bearcats are proving their strength on the national stage this fall. Keep up the great work, Bearcats. Prior to Northwest's game on Saturday against Emporia State, our reporter Cayden Simpson was able to sit down with running back and return man Dominic Myers, who had a monster game, rushing for 2 touchdowns and adding 1 more through the air.
Good afternoon, Bearcats, and welcome back to another Bearcat exclusive interview. Today I'm here with Dom Myers, running back for the football team. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. So as a senior, how do you try and connect with and motivate the younger guys in the program?
You know, I'm a relational guy, so like I love, you know, taking younger guys under my wing, you know, just telling them that, you know, your time's gonna come, because I understand everybody's a dog in high school, you know what I mean? And, you know, I was once in their shoes, you know what I mean? Coming in as a freshman, like, you know, I want to be playing and all that. And, you know, at certain points, like, you know, you got to wait your turn, you know what I mean? But do little things like, you know, be a special teams guy, you know what I mean? Be a great scout guy, because you just never know what can happen. Injuries can happen, and you just never know when your number is called. So just preaching to those younger guys, like, be ready when your time is coming, you know what I'm saying? And don't, you know, pee down your leg when it's your time. So.
Yeah, and with all the responsibility that comes with being at running back, how do you communicate and make sure that you're on the same page as the offensive line and the quarterbacks? Because all of you guys are on the same page, you know, whether you're running the football, catching the football, blocking, you know, either of those things.
Well, number one thing is it starts with reading the right play card. You know what I mean? We have, you know, some signals. That's our signal. You know, we wear a wristband, and reading that, you know, and make sure you're reading that. Everyone, you know, should be able to read the right wrist card, and that's the number one thing of starting with communication. And then, you know, just different blocking schemes. We go through the blocking schemes throughout all week of practice. So when you get to the game, it should be just like practice, you know what I mean? So, you know, as a running back, you know, we do have some responsibilities, like, you know, pass protection and all that. But at the end of the day, like, you know, in certain situations, you know, instincts got to take over, and just do what you were coached. You know what I mean? And that goes for every position. Do what you were coached, and do what you were, you know, what you were doing all week in practice. So.
And what's been the biggest impact of Coach Prosser being in control of the offense, as we've seen major improvements and major changes within the offense this year between years in the past?
It's the energy, you know what I mean? And like Coach Prosser mentioned earlier, you know, just the energy in practice and us just being bought in. They came in January and set a standard, the Bearcat standard, and that was it. You know, there's no other way but Bearcat standard, you know what I mean? And as a group of seniors like we have, and, you know, a couple of older guys, just, you know, juniors, and everybody that was here last year, we just bought into that. And, you know, he's a high energy guy, and, you know, he gets on us, but, you know, it's for a good reason. And I couldn't be more than blessed to have him as our offensive coordinator, man. Like, just the energy he brings, and, you know, you want to die on the field for that type of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so.
I understand. And how big of an impact has Coach Mack been as well? It's also his first year, and we've also, you know, seen an overall improvement on the entire team. And what has he brought to the team?
Coach Mack, man, the Mack man. I mean, I can't even explain it. Like I said, he came in and set the standard, and, you know, you either in or you're out. You know what I mean? This is a different era of Bearcats football. This ain't the era from 2 years, 3 years, a year ago. This is a different era. And, you know, those coaches came in, and, you know, they did what they wanted to do. And, you know, we still got more work to do. You know, it's not over. We just got to continue to just keep treating every week like 1-0. And, you know, we were preseason number 6. You know what I mean? So we keep that mentality, and we can do whatever we want to do. We're in our own way. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's hard to explain, but I couldn't be more than grateful to, you know, end my college career off with these type of coaches, seriously.
All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
that was
sir.
really great.
Thanks, Cayden. That's all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Hayden LaValle, and this has been Bearcat Update, the provider of complete coverage of Northwest sports. We're live every Sunday at 2, and you can find us on YouTube at KNWT TV. Along with Bearcat Update, you can watch KNWT's other content. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in no time.